Hi guys, I'm Audrey Shantz and I'm a watercolor artist and a watercolor teacher, and today I'm here with my friend Kelly Bluin.
Hello.
And she teaches Zentangle over on YouTube. So we're gonna do this fun little collaboration. We just like hanging out with each other and we like doing art together. So we're going to do a painting on this half and we'll do this. We're gonna paint this. And just kind of cute and colorful for the fall. And then when we're finished and everything's completely dry, you'll go over to Kelly's video on her channel and she will teach me Zentangle. So
I'm excited.
Yes, we're excited. So, okay, here's how I want to start is if you have a candle or anything to make your space cozy, let's light that. Maybe get yourself something to drink. Maybe get a sweater if you need it. My candle won't light, so we're gonna just try one more. Oh, there it is. And set yourself up with a nice little space. We're gonna go through supplies really quick and then we'll get started. So for this portion, you need to have some kind of watercolor paints. I like to have a towel. You could have a paper towel, it doesn't matter. A pencil and a kneaded eraser. This is a size 10 round watercolor brush. And we're going to be working on a 5x7 piece of watercolor paper. You also need some water in a jar. I think that's it. Oh, one more thing I want you to maybe have is a little spray bottle like this so you can spray your paints. And what's cool about our painting today is nothing touches, so we don't actually have to dry it in between. But in case you need to, if you had a little craft heat gun or a hair dryer, that's all you need. So let's get started. Okay, so let's do this. For now, you don't need any of your paints or anything. We just need to have a pencil and a kneaded eraser. I've got Kelly here with me. She's got her stuff too. So we'll just kind of be chatting some as we go. I'm teaching her this. She's going to teach me Zentangle. So that's kind of what we're doing. There's some definite things I've learned from her, and one of them is how to do this border. I don't think I do it exactly the same, but I love the idea of taking your pencil and putting a little dot. And I want to tell you ahead of time, we're painting our border, so make it as thick or thin as you'd like. I'm going to make mine a little bit thicker over on this second one. So I'm taking my pencil, and let me zoom in for you so you can see better. I'm going to do this little dot on the corners. I'm going to turn my paper around and try to find basically that same spot and put a dot here too. So now I'm going to take my pencil. Notice I'm holding it back here, not up tight at the point, but back further. And I'm just going to connect these lines. And I like to make them a little bit like curvy so that they were never supposed to be straight. So I don't have to worry that they are or aren't straight. Kelly's already done. She's a pro.
I can make a line.
Okay, I'm noticing this one isn't as close to the top as this one, so I'm just going to quick move it up and then connect it. And now I have this really, I don't know, this border is like imperfect and I love it. And we've got 5 acorns today, and I had to think about what's a good composition so that we kind of fill our space really well. So that's what I worked on. Notice we have one large, and then we kind of go a little bit smaller, and then so large, less large, medium, and 2 smalls. Less large. Did you
Less
like
large.
that?
I like that.
And one thing I like when I'm putting any shapes together like this is looking at this spacing in between them that is kind of equally spaced throughout. And I think that's what makes a nice composition. Otherwise, you end up adding little tiny ones in to fill the space, and that's a great choice too. So if you get there and you need it, go for it. We are going to press lightly with our pencil. That's the most important thing I'll say today. And this one, let me just show you. So the paper I'm using today is a 5x7. This one is almost that same size. And if I were to put my fingers like this, I could put at least 3 fingers, maybe even a little more than that, from top to bottom on the big acorn. So why don't you come up with, maybe this is center on my paper, where it would be like the bottom of it is going to be below center. This is always the hardest part, you guys, because you don't have anything else to work with yet. I'm going to put a dot and a dot where I think the top and the bottom of this big guy might go. And I'm going to press really lightly with my pencil. I want to make sure I've got space for this little cap to come up here. What do we call that? A stem?
I think so. I don't know.
A little stem. And yeah, I'm going to bring it up just a little bit higher. And then what this is going to be is like a big rainbow coming up, across, and down. And notice we need space over here. So we want it to be big. It's the biggest one. And you maybe even could kind of start on both sides like this, maybe even put a dot, and now connect this rainbow. And I'm going to focus on nice rounded out shapes today because I'm working with Kelly and she's so good at that. I love it. So I like this. And then from here, I want to connect them. One thing that you might want today is if you have an extra piece of paper, this is just like another paper. I think we're going to want these horizontal lines to be nice and straight. And the reason I say paper is because we don't all need to like have a ruler or take it like too seriously. But I noticed that when it's me, if I can straighten out this line, I'm gonna like feel pretty good about it. If you want one, here's one. Once I have this one, I'll use that as a guide for the bottom. I'm gonna come in just slightly. I definitely do not want the cap and the body of the acorn to touch because in watercolor, if you paint next to something wet, your colors bleed. So I don't want that to happen. But I used this one as a guide for the next one. And now I'm going to work on the body. It's gonna come down and down. And like notice the bottom here, it's rounded, but it does have this little point to it. So just press lightly when you get to the point and you can see what you think. We're gonna come down and curve towards the center on both sides. I like to work on both sides at the same time to try for some symmetry. And then I'm gonna come down like this, some kind of little point at the bottom. We're gonna just have a minute at the end. So anything like this that's weird, you can just change it at the end. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'm great.
Okay, my hand's like in the way. Okay, so from here, I want to just add this nice little curve. It's kind of like a smile from the top center up and away. And we can maybe take that line across and then follow this line down just to widen it up. Press lightly with your pencil because if we want to move it, we will. And I want to go largest to smallest now. So we're going to take less large next. And the other thing about it, this one is nice and tall. This is like the shape of a pill or something. This one is round. So let's actually just kind of make a circle here. What we want is equal space between these two and these two. And they're a little bit of overlap height-wise. Okay, I like it. I'm just going to put an actual circle for a minute. And then I'm going to use that this time. And I do want to use my paper for that line, so I'm going to try to find halfway and just put my paper. I'm lining my other paper up with this edge and getting myself this nice horizontal line. Yeah, that's cute. And then you can curve the corners of the top, so ignore the whole bottom for a minute. You can curve these corners if you want to. And then we're going to use the line we already have as a guide for the one underneath of it. This is so fun to be able to look over and watch Kelly's at the same time.
The pressure.
Okay, so this, you just want to be kind of symmetrical. Honestly, though, like in nature, they're not. So let's kind of take the pressure off of that. But something like that would be good. And I'm already getting out my eraser. We're always using both pencil and eraser. I like it. Okay, something like this. If you wanted to make these sides come up a little bit before they curve, that's good too. So just play with your shape. This one I gave a straight stem because it's the only one straight. So I thought that made it kind of cute. I'm still going to play with my shapes when we're done too, but we're focusing on composition first. So,
and then just a reminder to draw lightly.
Yes.
I don't know if you mentioned that
yet. Yeah, but that's always the most important thing about drawing is press lightly because you can erase easily, which means you can create freely. So up here, I like this one. It's a very similar shape to our first one, and we just kind of want to fill the space. That's what's important here. Equal space kind of on all sides of it, and you can draw the whole shape first if you want. It's going to be kind of coming up and over. The top is flatter on this one. Curving back down, and I'm grabbing the paper again. It's funny because I'm always telling people not to be a perfectionist, but there's certain parts that I find I can handle all the rest if one spot is kind of clean. So do you ever use paper like this to do that?
No. I mean, only because in Zentangle, like, we don't care that much about straight lines.
Oh, I like that.
But otherwise.
Yeah, Zentangle's got some good zen, some good chill to it, I think. Okay, so I used this horizontal line again, and you'll notice this is all on repeat now, but we're gonna use the bottom of the cap to give us this the line, the guide for the line underneath of here. And then let's put a dot where we want it to end, so we don't get too close to this next one. And then we're just kind of like hanging out, doing the same thing on repeat. I love things that are made up of collections so that you have lots of time to practice the same thing over and over. Okay, so we've got 3, and then the thing about these last 2 is that they go in a line like this. So I'm putting my pencil there, and you can see it's kind of like a 45-degree angle. They're both on it, and I think that creates kind of its own shape, which helps fill in that gap. So 2 little guys on a diagonal here. And you can look at the shape of them. It's cute to change the shape a little. Like this is a big, nice curve, but this one over here, notice it comes up and then kind of has a flatness to the top and then curves down. So you can try to make them all exactly the same or try to change them all up. I made their caps first this time. And I'm just going to use this paper to check myself. Pretty good. Okay, cool. We'll use that bottom of our cap to create our top of our body. And I do like the body a little bit less wide than the cap. So we're finishing up the sketch portion. So go ahead and start looking at what you got. How's yours, Kelly?
Pretty good.
Good. Okay, so if you still have to add your little stems to them, grab your stems in there. If your pencil got really wonky anywhere, really dark somewhere, just get in with your kneaded eraser or whatever eraser that you have. And remember, we're going to still press lightly, but let's clean up our shapes a little bit. Mine over here is pretty weird. And I don't mind that at all. I could totally leave it and paint it and still be happy. But since I've got a minute, this is why we sketch first when you're painting with me, is because now is when we have the pencil and the eraser both. Cute. Okay, so make sure you like your work. And once we get our watercolor paints in here, we're not going to be able to erase any pencil that we covered with paint. So the watercolor paint kind of locks it in. So anything you don't want to see later, we'll get rid of now. You see how Kelly's doing hers? Do you want to show them that?
I'm just like blotting it with this kneaded eraser.
Yeah, and then some
lightens it.
Yeah, some people do this. They take it and they like roll it over. Lots of little tricks you can do, but I always say I don't mind seeing pencils. So you need to think about if you do, then you'll try to get rid of a lot of it now. But I like it, so.
Great.
Okay. This is our sketch.
It's so cute already. I love it.
So we're kind of done with our first portion. You can take your pencil and your eraser and you can get them out of your way. And we will start by mixing up our colors before we even go to our paper. So I'm going to kind of zoom out so I can show you what I'm doing here. And it's funny, we're in a tight space, so we're trying to make it all work.
Nice and cozy.
Cozy space, yeah. And okay, so these are the colors that I chose for today, but I don't want you to overthink the colors. I am going to help you make them, so we'll get there together. But these were kind of happy and kind of fallish to me. And the way we're going to paint is we're going to start with a light color, and of that same color, we'll maybe add some darkness into the sides and let it dry. We're not going to do anything too complicated today. Okay, so let's begin. Here are your watercolor paints, whatever set you have. If you have a little spray bottle, it's just nice because Kelly, do you have everything you need?
I think so.
Okay, I tried to set her up ahead of time, but okay, so we're spraying our paints and getting them kind of where they're nice and glossy. This paint set is already very easy to use, and I'll make sure that's in the links below so you can find it if you want to. And here's how we're going to make a puddle is you're going to take your water jar and take your brush and dip right into it. Actually, let me show you something about the water jar first. When you're cleaning, this is how we clean. press, press, press down into the bottom of the jar versus like wiggle, wiggle. We don't know that the paint got released from the brush. Okay, so we're gonna grab water from our brush and pick whatever color it is that you want to see. I'm going to start us with, if you're using this one, I'm going to do burnt sienna. If you're not using this paint set, do some kind of a brown. So I'm taking this wet brush, swiping it around, and I'm going to put it right on my palette. Let me zoom in for you. And I'm going to go to my water and back, and now this is a puddle. So I'm going to clean my brush out because I already have my puddle now, but I'm going to repeat the same thing again. So you can hear how we're going to make a puddle. And this time I'm going to pick kind of maybe a blue or maybe a bluish green color if you've got one. For me, that's the fourth one down from the top center. I'm going to take that wet paintbrush. I'm going to swirl my brush around and I'm going to swipe it onto my palette. I'll take that brush into my water and back and swirl it around, and this is a puddle. Okay. And what we're going to do is you'll see that on the right, these are our paints. On the left, we're creating puddles. And now you're going to choose any colors that you want. You can follow along with me, or you can think if there's any colors that you have in your living room and you want this to match, just do your own thing. Are you going to stick with these colors or do something different?
I'm sticking with your colors,
okay.
yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to show Kelly how to get them. So
okay,
you
great.
Got those ones? Okay.
I think so.
She's got a brown and a blue. And then we're going to do some kind of a pink. So for me, that's in the top left. But pink is red plus water. So you can do any red plus water. I'm going to grab some of this, swipe it onto my palette, go straight into my water and back. And then that's a puddle. Ooh, Kelly's going rogue. I saw her. Well, I did the top left.
Oh, see, I'm not even paying attention.
No, I just thought you were gonna zig, you know, which I love to see what people do. So
that top left is so pink.
It's so pink.
Not red. You wanted pink.
Well, okay, so it is really bright pink. If you wanted to change it some, you could add red into it. So that's one thing I'm doing. And then it's going to kind of give me like a nice cheerful color still, but with some darkness in it. Okay. But this is just a good thing. Like you can mix any colors you want. So if this was too bright and happy of a color for fall and you wanted to add something, you could mix brown into it. If you don't like that and you want to start all the way over, just clean the pigment out of your brush first. And you could grab, let's do like a red with a teeniest bit of a purple into it. And you get a different color. So just play with them. See what you like. Do you like the one you have?
I just combined it with my other puddle of the darker.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Good. Okay, cool. And then we want some kind of a yellow. Let's grab that before our water gets too dirty. I'm going to get the one, my paint set's almost empty, but the third one up from the bottom. So if you have a yellow, any yellow will do. If your yellow is too nice and like bright for this one, you maybe could add just a teeniest bit of brown into it. But I think the brown will take over quick. So, you know, just kind of do slight adjustments. And if your puddle turns into something you don't like, just clean your brush and start over. Don't even worry about it. So cool. We've got a bunch of colors. What else do we need? Purple. Okay, this one is fun. I'm going to do the third purple up from the bottom center, but if you don't have this set, this is like a very standard kind of Crayola purple. So I'm going to start with that one, but I do want to mute this color a little bit. So I'm going to take the purple that I've created. I already added a little bit of water to it. And then I'm going to go over to either my yellow or this mustard color and just touch my brush, grab just a little bit and mix it in. And what you should see is that it dulls your purple just a little bit, maybe gets it a little more muted, a little bit more like a color you would see in the fall. Yeah, I'm watching Kelly do hers too. So hers just took like a bigger hit of yellow. And so she just went right in with her purple and she adjusted it again. So you can always do that. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so I've got purple, I've got yellow. I'm looking at my little map over here. I want some kind of a green, and that's what I'm going to use on the border as well. So for me, I'm going to do this fifth one up from the bottom right. If you don't have this paint set, I would take a green, maybe a yellowish green. If you want to, you could add some brown into it, and I think you're going to end up with kind of a mossy, olive, earthy green. something like that. So this is how we test our colors. Watercolor is transparent. So when you're moving your brush around, I'll zoom in on this one. When I'm moving my brush around with this green right here and I can see through it, that's the color. And the reason is because we have a white background and it's transparent. Okay, you got your colors?
I love that part, yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm good.
Good. So I think we're all set with those. So we do have our puddles. Let me zoom out here. Our puddles on the left, our paints on the right. We're going to work from both of them today, and I'm going to talk with you about water control and how to just kind of how to take back control if you need to, and kind of our balance of paint and water. What I'm going to do though is take this spray bottle, and I'm actually going to spray these paints one more time, kind of because I just want you to, because I want you to make sure that your paints have a little bit of water on them over here, so that when we decide we want to get in there, we know what we're dealing with, versus if they're all dried out and I say take from your paints, you're not going to have the same result. Okay, I'm going to shift some things over here a little bit, see if I can make some space. Perfect. And zoom in. We are going to paint together. So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling uncomfortable, relax a little bit, get comfy in your chair. Are you comfy in your chair?
I'm great, yes.
And so we want to intentionally make sure none of them touch each other. We want this white space between. So if you already see that your shapes are touching anywhere, you may want to actually take out your pencil and put more space between the cap and the body of the acorn. Otherwise, we're going to do it like this. We're going to pick a color like and maybe use it twice. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start with this one because it's nice and big. See if I can get you any better lighting. Sometimes the lighting is a little wacky. Okay. And I'm going to dip my brush into just the tip of my brush into my water. So, okay, if you have a brush full of water right now, I actually want you to clean your brush out in your jar and dry it on your towel. And then we're going to take that brush and we're going to put the first half of your brush into your paint. I'm going to do the pink. And I'm going to, for now, and you can just watch this part first if you want to, because you can always pause me. I'm going to take the tip of my brush along the edge and on the top here, but notice I'm pressing into the belly of my brush to fill this in quickly. I love that you're going to be able to watch Kelly too, because I finally figured out how to put a video in a video. Okay, I've got this whole thing filled in, and then I want to take my brush and I'm going to clean it and dry it and touch my brush anywhere that I see puddling or pooling. We should see that the light reflecting on the whole thing, but also you kind of want to see the texture of the paper through there. Then from here, you can touch your brush to your towel and then go right in to whatever red or pink paint you used, or another one, it doesn't matter. And we'll take that brush and touch the edges. So this is where you're going to get some beautiful little color bleeds. And if this is subtle, that's okay. We're just, honestly, if it's one color, you're good to go. But if you want to kind of play and get a couple colors in, you can do that. So if you look at this and you're like, ooh, but that is so dark, it kind of is really dark. So I'm going to clean my brush and dry it. You can always take your brush like this and assist the blending, or you can let it blend on its own like I'm doing on this right side. Okay, and then if it feels out of control at any point, what we did when I cleaned my brush and dried it and touched it is I'm using my brush like a sponge. That's called like lifting. You're just lifting up some of that excess water to gain back some control. How you doing?
Great.
Okay, cool. I just want a little bit more of that red, maybe right here. I kind of like the idea that the cap is shadowing the body. So if we put darkness right there, it might give us that illusion a little bit. And so this one's really dark. I'm going to actually soften it up by just taking my brush. The reason I knew I could still do this is because I can see the light reflecting and I know it was still wet. Okay, so the balance right now, the challenge for you is how much water and how much paint. And if it feels out of control, you have too much water. And if it's drying while you work and it won't blend, you need a little bit more. So let's take that same pink paint and do it again somewhere else. Maybe you want to do it on a lid this time, or maybe on a body. But let's try to spread our colors like apart. So we don't do the cap the same color. Maybe don't do this one right next to it. I'm going to come down here and I'll just follow this one. You can just follow this one. And if at any point you want to like take your phone and take a picture of this one while it's on the screen, you can do that too. So this is a much smaller acorn. We are going to need less water. You still want the whole thing to get covered and be shiny and reflective so we can load in our darker colored paint. But it has to be wet in order for those colors to blend. If you're finding it won't blend, it's too dry. This is fun.
This is great.
So that's our second one. This one's all splotchy and I like it, and I'm going to leave it. So I don't want you to overthink this at all. We're just playing with colors today. And I think we're ready to move on to another color. So I'm going to grab some blue and I'm just going to follow this as a little map, and I'll do the bottom of the acorn on the top right. If you look at your color on your palette right now and it's not the right color for you, you can adjust it before you start. We just make those puddles because watercolor is about timing. So I don't want you to be like working here and then this is drying and then you got to go mix colors, because then you won't be able to play with your artwork quite as much. So you can always touch your brush to your towel when you need a little bit more control as well, because that's going to take a little bit of paint off too. There's a watercolor like rule that I like to say that is just the more water, the less control, and the less water, the more control. And I'm just playing with my two different colors. So if I want to add more color and it's still reflective and shiny, I can. And if I want to lift up any color, I can take my brush and watch, I'll do it. I'll just like right here, I have a clean, dry brush. I'm going to press and lift. And actually I can get control that way, or I can add a highlight that way as well. And then we're just going to take that same paint and pick another one and do the same thing. So when it's a smaller space, we need a little bit less water. So try to adjust that as you get it on your brush initially. And when we're doing a cap, don't forget the stem. I kind of always forget the stem.
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
No,
oh, you didn't do one yet?
Top yet, but yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yep, so you just kind of do it the same way. When you want to get into the stems, because they're a thinner space, you're going to want to maybe press light on the tip of your brush so you fit in there. That can be kind of trickier to do. So really light. A paintbrush is about pressure and how much pressure you're doing, just pushing into it. So if you just lighten it up a little bit, that should help you. I love anything with repetitive shapes like this where you can just do a bunch and then freely paint. Cute. All right, I'm just going to keep on moving us along. We're going to go into our next color. I'm going to do yellow next. And when I do the yellow, I'm going to start from my puddle. But then when I add the color in, I'm actually going to go into my mustard yellow paint instead. I like the effect that I get that way. On any of these, you can switch up the color. Like you could start pink and add blue on the side, or purple or whatever too. So Kelly, how was your Inktober?
So much fun. So much fun. And my plan was to do one of your videos every single day, but I've been a little hit or miss, but they will all get done.
Oh, I love it. It's just so much.
It's so much fun though.
It's fun,
if
but
I
it is a
wasn't
lot.
recording every day, I would have just watched your videos.
I love it. That's amazing. I had a lot of fun doing it, and every video that I did was like a tip or a trick. So this is funny for me to just kind of be hanging out painting instead of teaching you a specific thing. Okay, so as I do this, I am just starting with that lighter yellow color and I'm filling the whole thing in exactly the same as we did, but I'm going to keep talking it through a little bit just so that if you're needing, you know, refreshed, like you should be, I'm assuming you're a little bit new to watercolor. So this is light yellow and the whole thing is still shiny and reflective. I don't have any puddling or pooling. And I took my brush, and when I went into my second color, I did not add water. And that might be what some people need to hear right now, is that when I added the color to it, I did not go into my water at all. So I'm never working with a full brush full of water. And if I did, I would not feel any control up here. And I probably wouldn't like watercolor.
I love looking over and watching how your colors not bleed, what's the term? Like how they like blend and like make their own new little shapes.
Yeah, color
it's
bleeds
so gorgeous.
and like little blooms in there. It's
so cool.
It is so fun. Like it's predictable in some ways and not in others, and I think that's why watercolor is kind of cool. Now I just want to do a whole series with you. We can sit here and paint together. Okay, I'm moving on to another color. So if these were touching each other and we did not have a gap between them, then we would need to dry everything in between. And that's where you would maybe want a little hair dryer or a little heat gun. And you just dry it fully, and then you can freely paint right next to it and your colors won't bleed. So that's kind of the trick. But our trick today is having white space in between. Since water is the avenue for that paint pulling like that, if we don't have water, it won't do it. Okay, so I am going in, I want like a little bit of a darker purple to put in here. So I mixed mine a little bit on my palette. Otherwise you can go right into your purple. But if you want it to be that muted color, maybe just mix a puddle of like a darker purple on your palette first. This type of painting I think is the most chill watercolor painting. Just playing with wet on wet, and that's what this is called. Wet on wet is when you add wet paint into wet paint. And then I'm gonna do, oh, I guess I only have one purple over here. And I'm gonna leave it that way because I like how having two greens matches my border, and I plan on doing a green border again. So you might think about what color your border is gonna be. And then kind of make some decisions based on that too. I always have to change something, so I'm going to change it a little bit up here. I have a question for everybody. Are you going to start Christmas decorating today?
November 1st?
Yeah, because November 1st, like I have friends who are doing it. Well, I don't, but when I had the shop, that's when shops will do it.
Oh,
true.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And this is like my first year not having the shop, and so I feel like I kind of have the itch for it. And I have friends who just are so excited to do it. They're starting, so.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess the question, when do you decorate for Christmas? Don't fight about it, though.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Do you?
Yes. Or maybe the weekend before. So when I get back from Thanksgiving, it's like, it's ready.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
My don't fight about it wasn't for you. It was just for in general, because my sister is like passionate about when you decorate. But
really?
Yeah, but Thanksgiving weekend, I feel like you're kind of right on. That's, right? I would say, the most normal, probably. I won't do it November 1st either, but
you're in your greens already.
Well, I just kind of kept moving it along, and I changed up where I put green.
Follow me.
Yeah, follow Kelly's. Yeah, I'm trying to pause too.
Okay, you've got green up here.
Mm-hmm.
Then you did a brown.
Well, I changed it up a little bit. So okay, so on your first one, yeah, I did green up top. But this time I looked at it and I thought, well, if I did that, I could get another purple in.
True.
I have a whole video in my Inktober about how to like make changes from you do one, and on your second one, what are some ideas of how you can change it?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's fun to see what people did. Notice that occasionally I'm going out of the lines here, so if I'm doing it, you can do it too, and we're all good. We'll clean it up a little bit at the end. Oh, actually, okay, I was thinking we were going to do ink, but no, we're going to do Zentangle. So, like, your focus will not be on the watercolor by the time you're done. Yeah, because the ink at top will really take your attention. This one got weird.
Weird is good.
So now I'm looking at mine, and since I changed it up a little bit, I'm trying to decide which color I want to do up here. Oh, my goodness. Well, the burnt sienna, because I didn't use it yet. Maybe I'll do my border that color then. That would be a last minute change. But Kelly, you do this one if you want to do it exactly the same. I like having a map where I can do it exact, and then I just know like enough of you are going to be like, but I got a groovy idea. And then you'll do your own thing.
I love going to your in-person watercolor classes because kids especially don't follow the map at all. They just do their own thing. And then adults most follow, and then you have like those two really creative people that just go completely rogue.
Yeah, totally.
And it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's so fun to see everybody's work next to each other. It's fun to see our work next to each other.
I know.
So Kelly's she's finishing up one. It has one left, and I love that because it tells me to slow down, although I still love on videos how you can just pause me anytime you want. And I know sometimes you have to. Okay, notice that as they dry, they start to look different. So they the water continues to pull the paint all the way until it's dry. It's very cool. And if you get to this point and you're ready to do your border, the reason I chose to do a border today is because it still keeps it where none of our paints are touching. And then we don't have to stop and dry it on our video, but when we get fully done, we will. But I want to pick which color I am going to do the border with. And I think because I didn't realize I was only putting this brown color in one spot, I am going to change my plan and do the border in that color. So... all right, Kelly's getting there. So
no, I can't pause you because
I know, yeah, exactly. You put your hand over my mouth. She just comes over and like
stop talking.
Pauses the video.
So you're changing the outside. Okay, maybe I'll go with the green, but my green is really blah.
What do you mean by blah? What do you want to see different?
I'm changing it. We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
In class, I'm always like, I'll help you find your color, but here right? I can't do that quite as well. Okay, I am going to do the border. So like she's saying though, she's like, I want to like the color if I'm going to use it. So definitely take a moment and I will pull my paints onto camera for a minute. Here's this one if you need to see it. And if I'm going to use that burnt sienna, I want my puddle to be bigger. So I'm taking my brush, putting it into my water, and I'll find my burnt sienna or your brown or whatever color you have. It could be brown with a little bit of orange if you wanted to kind of get closer to this. And I want to make my puddle bigger. So I'm adding it, dipping into my water and coming back. So we're just getting a good amount of this color and then a good amount of water until my puddle gets to be maybe like this big. And notice I'm moving it around. That's how I can see what color it is. And that feels like a good enough puddle. You don't want to run out because then this is drying while you're mixing. But if you do run out, you'll just make a little bit more. You like your color?
I think so. We'll see when it gets on the paper.
I know it. Okay. And so I'm going to take my brush and we're just going to move around the page. I'm going to have you think about it like a puddle. So I'm taking my brush. I'm going to start in one corner and notice the tip of my brush is going to run right along the line that we created. And I'm going to lean into the belly of my brush, which is the big part. And then just kind of keep this moving. So what I'm not going to do is go back here and work on top of that anymore. If I had too much water and had to move it, that's one thing, but then leave it because watercolor is transparent and it shows your little markings. It shows as it starts to dry. So I'm just taking like wet paint, pulling it, moving it around. Don't accidentally touch your wet paint. So if you need your hand on your paper, make sure you're putting your finger on something that doesn't have any paint. And notice I'm turning my paper. That just makes it easier for me. So just a good way to do it. How's yours feeling?
Good. I think the trick on here is trusting the belly of the brush and don't take too long to make it.
Yeah, so if you were to go like this, right here, this is what not to do. Light on the tip of your brush, back and forth, over here, back and forth. Like just no. Press and lean into it and keep it moving. I talk about that in my flat wash video as well. This is basically that same concept where you want to see a nice larger space filled in, but you don't want it to look messy. So then we come back here and hopefully it's still a little bit wet when you get here. And if yours was totally dry, that might be an indicator for you that you can err on the side of a little more water the next time you do this. And you're welcome to just do it a couple times in a row, make one that you love, and then go to Kelly's video. But now everything is filled in and Kelly's is too. Beautiful.
Yay! yay.
I love seeing them like different colors too.
I know, I love it.
And so then I'm going to take my little dryer and dry the whole thing carefully. And when it's solid, totally dry, which means you won't be able to see any light reflecting at all, that's how you'll know that it's dry. This is my little craft gun. That's what I'll be using. And at this point, we would usually like sign our artwork or add ink, but instead I'm going to send you over to Kelly's video, and she's going to teach us how to do some Zentangle over the top. Is there anything else I need to say?
No, that's it. That was wonderful.
Okay, so make sure it's nice and dry and you can head over to hers. We'll see you there.